Before we even left the States, that I was doing my recognizance, and I was talking to a South American woman out in Uruguay, and she spoke English, and she had been to the States and all, and she told me then, in America, North America, people show off their wealth. And so she said that in South America, it's the complete opposite. People keep a low profile. And so I'm saying that it applies to anyone, whether it's a wealthy person or a non-wealthy person. It's just in general, being a foreigner, you already stand out as a foreigner. So you could be a foreigner of small means, like on a small Social Security check, but because you're a foreigner, it is all automatically assumed that you're in the wealthy category. So this conversation is not about just wealthy folks and millionaires. It's about everyone, all foreigners, whatever station in life. It's very easy to fall into that category that gets targeted.
Anyway, if somebody asks you twice as much, you don't know what the local rate is. To you, that's an asking price. To them, they're charging you double. So, you pay the asking price, you're just overpaying. So because if you're constantly comparing to back home, it's always you don't want to be comparing. It's hard to do. We sometimes do that. Oh, it's cheap. You should compare it to what the locals pay and what you should pay, what the going rate is. You got to know what the local price really is, and how are you going to know that? If you just pay what you asked, because the minute you show up, you're asked 25-50% higher. The minute you show up, because you look like a gringo. So, and you just if you come around here with, you got plenty of money and it's too much of a bother to negotiate, or find out what the real local rate is, then you're really doing yourself a disservice, and actually you're doing everyone else a disservice. All the other expats that come after you, you're just doing everybody a disservice. And,
exactly.
Once the place becomes expensive, it's it's just another place to go. There's lots of places to go. We could have gone anywhere that's cheap. There's several other places, half a dozen other nice places we could go that's cheap. But the reason we came to Ecuador is because there's a lot of things we like about it. As far as it's family oriented, that's number one. For us, family oriented is very important. So, that's why we came here.
I say the gringos need to do some research so they don't come here and look like they're rich even though they're on a Social Security check or a pension check. They should do some research so that way, they don't look like they're rich. Because everybody here thinks that gringos are rich and they're not. There's people coming here living on $500 a month just like locals.
All right, number 2, signing away your rental rights on leases.
Signing away your rental rights on leases. We've helped hundreds of expats get locally priced rentals living when they move abroad. We've been right there front and center and watch this happen all the time. And don't sign leases. I mean, you got to keep things simple, and this is a very deep subject that you can easily just make a whole 1-hour video on. They don't fix anything. Worse than that, because there's like actual problems with properties, and they won't respond, and then they keep deposits and all this kind of thing. Foreigners are definitely misplaced and misguided in making agreements, being new and just landed, and signing agreements where they agree to 10% rental increases per year. This is unheard of, and is just the result of Retire Abroad media funneling tens of thousands of people in the same small areas, and people feeling like they have to agree and compete, and so the way I see it, just don't go where everybody's going, and don't go wherever is on a media list. Forget the lists. We talked a lot about the differences between the different cultures, like North American culture and South American culture, view things and do things. So, and one of those concepts, because it does come down to concepts, because if you start just talking about the little details of it, people will be like, oh yeah, I know, be careful, there's crime everywhere. But what it comes down to is, before we even left the States, that I was doing my recognizance, and I was talking to a South American woman out in Uruguay, and she spoke English, and she had been to the States and all, and she told me then that in America, North America, people show off their wealth. And this stems from the, from the old days in the 70s and 80s and in the 90s. They say they show off their wealth. Well, you see that now on YouTube. You see all these people like Graham Stephan, and you see these people. It's all about how much money they got, how much money they make, and that's what impresses people. But in South America, wealthy people, or any people actually, even if you're not wealthy, just having the appearance of being wealthy, but you're not, can get you into trouble. And so she said that in South America, it's the complete opposite. People keep a low profile. And so I'm saying that it applies to anyone, whether it's a wealthy person or a non-wealthy person. It's just in general, being a foreigner, you already stand out as a foreigner. So you could be a foreigner of small means, like on a small Social Security check, but because you're a foreigner, it is all automatically assumed that you're in the wealthy category. So I'm just saying here, this conversation is not about just wealthy folks and millionaires. It's about everyone, all foreigners, whatever station in life, it's very easy to fall into that category that gets targeted. Now, granted, some of these places had a certain level of crime already before these RAM cycles started, but even so, regardless of that idea, the crime rates always increase, get out of control, and spike. And the target is always the foreigner.
Too many people here living on $500 a month, and after a while, resentment from criminals. I think a lot of these crimes are resentment. If you look at the way that these criminals are acting violently,
because Vilcabamba was extremely peaceful, was just a tiny little village of just peace-loving and peace-abiding locals. And then after the RAM cycle got to it, the crime wave with home invasions and just spiking out of control and that kind of thing. Understand the vested interest, the RAM groups, and the expat for profit way that they keep you away from the facts. Buenos Dias culture in Ecuador. Now, if you've read our material, our books and everything, you know how strict and how important the Buenos Dias culture is in Ecuador, to the extent that if you don't do it, you are considered disrespectful to a point where you're subhuman and just get disrespected.
Yeah, it's true.
In some cases, it has happened to us. And I've done things like, and this was when we were still in our first few years in Ecuador, that I was just slow to pick it up and to just remember it, because I'm just like this type A personality. I want to go into the store and buy these shoes, so I'm just going to walk in, buy them, plop the money on the table, And so, oops, didn't say Buenos Dias. And so I had to go back out of the store because she was negative, come back in and say Buenos Dias, and then she just totally changed. So I'm just saying, it's super, super strict, important in Ecuador.